The Second Amendment is obsolete. Let's start out by looking at it real quick. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed. So let's take a look at the word arms and the phrase shall not be infringed. Now, if you interpret arms to mean arms and shall not be infringed to mean shall not be infringed, then it logically follows that anybody should have access to nuclear weapons. Of course, this is absurd. If everyone has access to nuclear weapons, that's the end of humanity, and any law that brings about the end of humanity is a bad law. Now, the Founding Fathers had some good ideas. The Constitution, I think, is a pretty good document. For example, the freedom of speech, habeas corpus, protection against cruel and unusual punishment, the right to confront your accuser. All of those things are good, and overall I think the Constitution is a pretty good document, but let's not pretend that it's perfect. The men who wrote it, many of them owned slaves. They didn't know what an atom was. They didn't know how to split it. They didn't have machine guns. They didn't have airplanes, tanks. They didn't have all kinds of things. To pretend that these guys somehow had psychic abilities and could predict the future is absurd. Also, let's not pretend that these guys were saints or anything. Far from it. In fact, 12 of our presidents have owned slaves. Think about it. Are you going to accept, the word of a slave owner to be the perfect word of God? I sure wouldn't. And that's the thing to remember. These were flawed men. They had some good ideas, but, they also had some bad ideas. And the Second Amendment is an example of something that is obsolete and really doesn't make any sense anymore.